world has changed. America has changed. If something were to happen tomorrow, how self-sufficient would you be? Could you grow your own food? Could you sustain your own livestock? Could you survive? This is the We Grow Our Show with Nick and Don. Nick and Don talk about everything from politics to planting. They cover techniques, methods, and tips on how to not only survive, but thrive. Visit the website at WeGrowOurs.com. Lock and load. This is the We Grow Our Show. Get your grow on.
Welcome back to the We Grow Our Show, where it's mostly truth.
Okay. It's mostly true.
Yeah.
Love it.
Oh man. This week we've got a great guest on. From, Beauty and the Beast. Guest on. Get it?
Yeah, I get it.
I was hoping for at least a sympathy laugh. No sympathy laugh?
No, not for that.
All right. Our guest this week is Dan Punch. And I have to say that's like one of the coolest last names.
Yeah, Dan Punch. Beekeeper.
Exactly. It's like, can you get any tougher than that? Yeah, I'm a beekeeper. And I'll punch him out. He's going to listen to the show and be like, great, this guy's retarded. He is a beekeeper as well as a bee removalist.
Yes.
A bee removing specialist. What do you?
Sure. Yeah.
I guess yeah.
And he doesn't poison them.
No poison. He just removes the hive.
Yeah. And he's a beekeeper himself. And so he's ethical treatment of bees, but he understands people need to have them removed. So
yes.
Today's episode is Bees Part 2.
Bees Part 2. Get your buzz on.
Get your buzz on. So
without alcohol.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to having Dan Punch come on and talk. I want to learn about African. We're in Arizona.
Yes.
And we have an Africanized bee problem here.
Yep.
A couple of times a year, somebody gets swarmed by bees and sometimes killed by them. And generally those are the Africanized bees. So I want to find out, can I put a hive in my backyard, a bee pod? Because the more and more I look at these bee pods that we had
they're sweet.
From last week. And if you didn't hear that episode, go back to part 1. We talked with Charlie of beepods.com. I'm loving this product and I'm thinking I might want one. But I'm a little concerned about these Africanized bees that we have here. So that's what we're going to find out from Dan today.
Yeah, that's one of my concerns as well, because I've heard the rumor that they'll take over a good bee colony.
Right.
And then the bees become aggressive. And I believe the regular honeybee can only sting once and then it dies.
Yes.
And then,
I think that's the same with the Africanized.
Well, I thought that they actually bite their venom.
No, I think they sting just like we'll find out.
That's a great question.
A really good question.
We'll ask that and more.
Yeah, because I know this guy, he's local in Arizona and he removes beehives. So he's got to have run across these.
Yeah, of course.
And I understood that Africanized bees were not more aggressive. They were more defensive.
Okay, so they've got, from our interview last week, the guy said that the defense radius was probably wider.
Right, so they'll swarm out of that and attack a lot more. I guess it would be aggressively. But I know they love the ground too, because I had a client of mine I went to up here in Scottsdale and I parked on the side of the road where I normally park. I get out and I hear the buzzing and I look and in one of these water things, with the caps on it, the green caps on the gray.
Oh yeah.
In the ground thing, I see bees coming out of it. And I didn't think much about it. I was like, but I could hear them. I was like, that's kind of cool. So about 3-4 days later, I went back and parked in the same spot. When I got out of my car, there were so many more of these things and they were all over the ground. So I walked right up to it real slow and I was just kind of looking at it and there's like a hole in the top. Man, this thing was filled. So I let her know that. I let my client know, hey, you might have some bee issue. Turns out when they removed it, they said this thing was like 4 foot deep in the ground because this hole was not just a little hole. This was like a 4 foot deep hole.
Oh my
So they had filled this whole thing up with honeycomb and the whole thing. And I know my uncle in the same kind of area, my aunt and uncle had a beehive under their shed and they had like a concrete slab that this little shed sat on kind of out in the back. They have a couple, like an acre and it was in the back corner. and nothing around it, and they had all these bees underneath the concrete slab. So I think Africanized bees tend to go to ground. Huh. So those are all things I'm really fascinated.
Yeah, about. You got a list of questions to ask because I've already forgot the first one I wanted to.
Yeah, whether they're aggressive and if they'll take over, that'll really be interesting.
This is going to be great. I'm excited to have them on.
Yeah. So we've got some other things coming up. When is a prepper thing up in Prescott?
It's the Arizona Survivalist Expo.
Right.
Lance Baker's putting this one on at Tim's Toyota
He's a
Center.
good guy too.
Yeah, I love working with Lance, and in fact, what's funny is he might get mad at me saying this, but he doesn't like the term prepper.
I don't blame him. It's got some negative connotations.
He's like, I'm a survivalist. I'm not a prepper. I am prepared.
Yes.
And it's true. We've made new verbiage by calling it a prepper, somebody who prepares. Instead of calling somebody, oh, he's prepared, we call him a prepper, and it sounds like loony bin. So I get where he's coming from, but he's made that deal, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a prepper expo. He's like, no, it's a survivalist expo. Okay, Lance. Okay.
Yeah, I completely understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, but that's going to be the 31st of May, 1st of June.
Okay.
And I'm actually going to be doing a class there, so.
Very cool. The Rabbit 101?
Yep. Introduction to Rabbits.
Introduction to Rabbits. Very cool. So that's a free class.
Yep.
And Nick's going to be putting on. Now the weekend before, March Against Monsanto.
That's right.
So that is nationwide. So worldwide for that matter.
Worldwide, yeah.
So wherever you are, generally the largest city you can find will have a March Against Monsanto. We're going to be doing this in Tempe, Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
I ordered some posters, I'm going to go March Against Monsanto and voice my opinion against the company, the GMOs, I always get this wrong, the neopeptides. Something
Dude,
similar
you're
to
looking
that.
at the wrong guy.
The things that
to
are
help
killing
you
the bees.
Pronounce that. Neotoxins?
They're toids. And so anyway, I spell it wrong and I say it wrong every time. So the poison that's killing everything.
Oh.
They're genetically modifying these crops and, just wreaking havoc on society. And we don't know what this stuff is going to do yet. So we're going to go, my wife and myself. I think, Nick, are you going to go?
I'm going to try. I've got a couple of things going on that day.
Yeah.
But,
you can't make time to go do something worthwhile, huh?
Worthwhile? I'm just afraid I might get in a fist fight with somebody over it if the opposition shows up.
I don't know. How can somebody oppose this? I mean, we want GMO labels, okay?
That's
label the freaking food and let us know what it is. So
yeah,
why
do we have to label our stuff organic? Yeah. Organic is what was here before the GMO.
Right. You mean it's real food?
Yeah. Exactly.
So you think the other poison stuff should be labeled a little bit?
Yeah, kind of like cigarettes. This could kill you because of cancer.
Yeah.
Maybe we should put that on the packages of the GMO crap.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to be out there with my sign. My wife is going. I don't know that the kids are going to go to this one. My oldest son wants to. I don't know that the smaller ones will. My mom's going to be out there in her scooter and she's going to be helping us out too.
Sweet.
So, you look
Rocking
for the We Grow Ours shirt.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I got the We Grow Ours shirt coming in. I'm going to be wearing that out there, passing out business cards with so we can get people to listen to the show and learn more about GMOs. In fact, I want to do an entire show on GMOs that week so we can get it out the following Monday. So we got a lot of things coming up with that. So make sure you check out the Survival Expo up in Prescott. Make sure you go March Against Monsanto wherever you are, whatever city you're in, go do it.
Yeah, let's tell these bad people radio edit here.
Yeah.
Let's tell them what we think, vote with your dollar and get mouthy about it.
Absolutely.
Demand a change.
Yeah, yeah. Mass action.
Exactly.
We need some mass action.
They're going to listen if they start starving.
Yeah. Well, you control the food, you control the people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, should we tell them about the new slogan?
Yeah. Yeah. Go
Why
ahead.
not? The introduction of the new slogan.
That's right.
Drum roll. Now it's not near as cool after the drum roll. We'll let it simmer for a second. We used to say, get your grow on.
Yeah.
But we're a lot more than just farming and urban farming and that type of thing.
Right.
Don and I, we want you to be independent. We want you to be able to live free of society, or free in society and be a contributing factor.
Yep.
You know, when you depend on people in general, that you can be controlled. If you don't have your own food supply, you are vulnerable. Yeah, exactly. You're going to die eventually, but if you don't have your own food supply, you're going to be susceptible to the people that do have the food.
Yeah.
And so the new slogan is empowering your independence.
Empowering your independence. That's what we're about.
That's right.
We're trying to move the show and the website, the blog, into different territory. You know, we have a great intro. We talk about politics and prepping, and we do all that, and we're going to continue to do all that. Mm-hmm. But we want to tell people it's not just about growing your food. It's about empowering your independence through all sorts of means, whether it be solar, mm-hmm. whether it be beekeeping, whether, and I mean, honey, for example, no expiration date. It can be used as medicine, whether it's learning some medical skills to stitch yourself up. My wife does the oils, the essential oils. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of different medicinal uses for oils. So, yeah, I'm going to have her on. We can talk about the uses of all that stuff. Whether it's growing your own in an aquaponics system in a raised bed. At our conference, we talked with Donna about how to compost and make this beautiful soil out here in Arizona using raised bed gardening. Combine aquaponics and all of that. Add the rabbits in for your protein sources. Talk about quail and chickens and ducks and oh my.
All right, Dorothy.
So it
rabbits and quail and fish. Oh my.
Oh my. Yeah. It's
Ulrich Road.
So that's what we're moving the show to.
Yes.
Trying to kind of hit that entire crowd of empowering your independence through. Mm-hmm. We're going to still talk about politics.
Of course.
If I get my way, we're going to have a really politically charged guest on soon. We're looking for people like congressmen that are running that actually, I don't want any congressmen coming on. They're not welcome.
No.
But if they're going to talk about their agenda to push freedom, I'm happy to listen to it.
Yeah. Anybody who's looking to usurp a couple of seats here in Arizona.
Yeah.
And, you fit the bill, by all means, give us a call.
Yeah. And it's not going to be somebody that's coming in running their mouth about freedom that actually doesn't vote that way. I don't want any rhinos sitting in our situation room. That's not how it works. You want to come in and talk politics, that's fine.
You better be straightforward.
You better be straightforward because I'm going to pull every piece I can. And if you're not voting that way, we're going to say that on the next episode and we're going to keep in touch and tell you exactly what we think of you. So there's a fair warning. You're welcome to come on if you're pushing the freedom agenda, but we're going to go after you if you don't.
Remember, the intro says it all. We're locked and loaded.
That's right. So there's a lot of things we're doing and we need you guys to support us. By going on and asking questions, by telling us what topics you want to cover.
Yes.
And if you feel so inclined, by donating.
There you go.
Nick and I do the best to keep everything going. But if you guys feel like, you're getting some value out, feel free to go donate. We're not going to say no.
Yeah.
So
we're not picky.
That's right. It's fun. I'm having a blast and I think that's what this is about. So you got anything else to add before we get Dan on?
Well, why don't we cover the plug of the week real quick?
Yeah, let's do that.
I recently ran out of business cards and was looking for another supply. And I actually have a friend well, he wasn't my friend at the time, but I met this guy at a company called Tenfold Print. And they're located right on the 143 and McDowell. So right when you're getting off the 143, you just take a quick left if you're heading north on 143, and his shop is right there on the right. He's got a bunch of flyers and stuff out there. But he really hooked me up on the business cards. I paid full price, but it was an extraordinary deal. And he made mention that there's a lot of people that get into the printing business and fail fairly quickly because they underbid, they overpromise, and they underdeliver. He's been around for years. And he's just like, I'm a no bullcrap kind of guy. You just come in, you tell me what you want, you pay for it, and you're going to get it. It's like, man, why can't everybody be like that? It was pretty awesome. So yeah, go in there, ask for Wayne, tell him that the We Grow Ours show sent you.
So does it have do you have an email address or a phone number or a website?
Yes. The website is www.tenfoldprint.com. That's 10 foldprint.com. And the number there is 602-220-9960. Sorry for the pause there.
There's a lot of numbers. I don't know.
Yeah,
Is the pause or
I think I added a digit there. So it's 602-220-9960.
All right.
All right. So
and we'll get that put on the webpage as well.
Yeah, definitely. And so for 2,500 business cards, front and back, full color, beautiful. It's glossy on one side. It's kind of a mat on the other so I can write on it. And, it cost me just under 90.
Nice.
And before I was paying 50 for 1,000. So yeah, heck of a deal. So yeah, go talk to Wayne and, get your
cards on.
Yeah, get your cards on. Yeah, get your marketing needs.
So I want to make it clear to people that when we do the plugs of the week, these are products that we've either used, people that have helped us, places we've been, something like that. We're not receiving any kind of, this is not an advertisement for monetary exchange. This is something that we do because we like these people and we think it's worth telling our friends about.
That's right.
And we don't have very many friends in real life, so we do it over the podcast, right? So
I got lots of friends. I just don't know where they went.
That's right. Speaking of that, we're actually going to be putting up a store page on the website.
All right.
And we're going to be putting on products that, like the Bee Pod, we might just link over to a website. We might have some on there that you can buy directly from We Grow Ours. Maybe a t-shirt, for example, maybe from us, and
some swag
or something. And then, some of that will get maybe paid for, if something like a t-shirt. Some of it we won't. We'll denote if we are getting paid, but these are products that we believe in, and that's why we're going to put them out there for people. So keep your eyes open the next few weeks, for the store feature. Again, this is just stuff we recommend. We either use, we've talked to people that use it, and we truly believe in the products. So keep your eyes open for that. If you guys are looking for things, that's a place to go to kind of get a good referral, is more of what it is, a referral business. If you've got a product that you want put on the store, and Nick and I are happy to look at it, we're not just going to put it on the store. We're happy to look at it. We're happy to try it out. We're happy to read it if it's a book, to watch it if it's a video. If it's something we truly believe in, we'll put it up there. If you guys want to supply a coupon code or something else for discounts for our listeners, that'll work too. Yeah,
in fact, just last week, Don collected a package from the women's underwear store, and he looks great. It's a good color on you, hot pink. It's a little revealing. But,
I don't even know how to respond to this. It just came out of the blue.
It's kind of sick that was in here, in my head.
Wow. Luckily, I control the edit button.
Oh, gosh.
All right, we better get down on it.
All right, let's get after that one. We'll see what kind of underwear he's wearing.
All right. Yeah, let's not.
It's got a honeybee on it. All right, with us, we've got the local Arizona reference for bees, Mr. Dan Punch. How are you today, Dan?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Things buzzing around in your world? I had to throw it out there.
Yeah.
Sorry. Lame joke alert.
Yeah. I'm busy as a bee,
Yeah.
So, Dan, what do you do? Tell us about what you do on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, well, it varies, but essentially I'm a beekeeper, and I also rescue bees.
Rescue bees?
Yep. People call me up if they've got a hive that's established itself in their house, or barbecue, or pool equipment. You name it. I rescue them.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures on your Facebook site, and I saw a speaker system, like they were inside of a stereo speaker, I saw you have a video of one in a roof. Man, those were amazing.
Oh yeah. It's every day's new. I never know what kind of call I'm going to get, or until I open up the hive, what I'm going to find inside. So it's very exciting.
So what's the craziest thing you found a beehive in?
Well, I removed a beehive from a bunker, World War II bunker on Williams Gateway Airport.
Oh wow.
Let's see. I did one. Well, I did the speaker boxes, where people keep their irrigation equipment. Sheds are very common. All sorts of things. I did one in a stairwell the other day. So, basically, the bees are looking for some sort of box or enclosure. You name it, as long as it's an enclosure, the bees will, at least investigate it. I pulled them out of barbecues, composters, chicken coops.
Oh, jeez.
A tree house.
Wow.
I bid on one, but I didn't get it, and it was in the air intake for like a Chevelle, like a 60-something Chevelle.
No.
Oh yeah.
Can't you just start the Chevelle at that point?
Well, it's an intake, so it suck them in, and I don't think that would do
That's
the
true.
engine any good.
Yeah. If it was in the exhaust, you'd be shooting bees.
Oh, wow. So
Oh yeah.
I got to ask you, out in Arizona here, I've heard different stories, and this is kind of the part 2 on bees. So tell me about Africanized bees. Is that what you come across exclusively now out here, or are there still honeybees, or how does that work?
Well, I think the Africanized bee has gotten a really bad reputation. I used to be the beekeeper over for ASU at their bee research lab, and we had Italian bees and we had Africanized bees because we had to study them. And to tell you the truth, some of the Africanized bees were more docile than the Italian bees. Yes, and so yes, most of the bees that I encounter out in the wild or in people's houses or structures, yeah, those are, we generally tend to think of them as at least a hybridized colony, and so I treat them as such, and that way everybody stays safe. But I'll catch them, I'll put them in a hive, I'll take them out to one of my apiaries, and I'll raise them, and then if they are aggressive, then I'll go in and I'll pinch out the queen, and I'll order one in from Northern California where they don't have Africanized bees, and I'll be able to track the genetics of that hive. And basically, the Africanized bees will raise the new queens young, and then they'll die off within a couple of months. And then I've got a nice gentle colony that I can work without gloves. And then if I can do that, that's my test. If I can work them without gloves, then I'm okay with putting them in community gardens and people's backyards and more towards the inner city, so I can ultimately harvest local honey.
That's very cool. So I've got a question now. I've got 1.25 acres, and we had Charlie on from Bee Pods. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he was. I've got into looking at this product that he sells, and I'd love to have a beehive at my house. Is that enough property to do something like that, or is that just way too little? Well,
it just depends on the city that you live in. If you live in Phoenix, it's okay to have bees. I believe Tempe you cannot, and Mesa is up in the air. I never got a straight answer from them. Honestly, it just depends on where you are. General rule of thumb though is you want to be, even if you are allowed to keep bees on your property, general rule of thumb is to just do it and don't tell anybody about it, because 3 blocks away, somebody gets stung in their swimming pool. Guess what? It's your bees that did it.
Yeah.
So I used to keep bees on my property, but my neighbors would see me come and go in my bee suit all the time, and I don't keep them on my property anymore. It's just everybody knows what I do, so I just choose not to. But 1.5 acres, a beehive only takes up about, honestly, with the bee line and everything, about 6 feet by 6 feet. So feasibly, yeah, you could do it. People do it on their roofs. They do it. You can put a beehive a few feet away from a fence, facing a fence, and the bees will fly out of the hive and go straight up in the air, and they'll fly at altitude until they get to where they're going to forage, and then drop down. So that way they're above everybody's head.
That's interesting. So instead of going straight out at people level, you can actually direct them to go higher. Oh, I like that. You're changing the way that they want to go, though, right?
Yeah, you get some that'll drop down, but for the most part, they fly in a straight line. They go to where they want to forage, and then they drop down. So you won't see them.
Interesting. Now, before our last episode, I was under the impression that bees need large acres of land that isn't inhabited by humans, but after that interview, I feel like the best place for one of these things is in my backyard. But my lot is 5,700 square feet. Would you advise against that, or are you still thinking that that's doable?
Well, it's one of those things where you just have to use your own best judgment. If you've got a neighbor that runs a daycare out of their house, it's probably not a good idea. Or if, your next door neighbor has a lot of dogs and is barking all the time, then that might irritate the bees. But if you've got a nice, if you back up to a wooded lot, or even if you've got an area that nobody goes in a corner and they can fly up and out, this might be something to consider. But honestly, I would really, I would look at it as if my neighbors had them, would I be concerned? And if they had them and you were concerned, then you'd probably, if you had them, they would probably be concerned as well. But it's just one of those things you have to just kind of look and see.
That's a good way to look at it.
Worst case scenario, though, I mean, you might be able. What I did when I was looking for my first apiary was I just put an ad on Craigslist. I said, look, I want to keep bees, but I just don't have the place to put them. I would love for somebody to foster my beehives. I would maintain them. I would give them some honey, and then and they would let me keep bees on their property. And I got so many calls after that. I still use a lot of those properties, actually.
Huh. Now, do you have a honey bottling company here in town that you use, or do you do your own?
I do my own. Maybe in the future, sometime down the road, but I extract my own honey and jar it and label it. I don't sell it though. I basically have people that sell it for me. I just don't have the time. I would love to do the farmers markets and things like that. It's just I simply if I'm doing those, then I'm not tending to my bees, and then I'm not answering the phone to do bee removals, which is something that I really, really enjoy doing.
Yeah, it sounds like an adventure every day.
Yeah, it's always different.
So, Dan, how do you get? What's your advice for somebody that's interested in keeping bees?
Somebody that's interested in keeping bees, there is a book that's available through Amazon. It's called Backyard Beekeeping. I believe the author is Kim Flotham. I might be mistaken though. That's a good start. It basically gives the basics. And then I would suggest contacting a local bee club. For instance, here, in Central Arizona, they have the Beekeepers Association of Central Arizona. Their website is baca.org, I believe, BACA.org. Go there, listen to what they have to say, and find somebody that's close to you geographically, and see if you can suit up with them and just tend their hives with them. And some people really like it, and some people don't realize they have a phobia of bees until they actually have bees buzzing around them. And so I would suggest somebody that's interested in it, they go work with a beekeeper that knows what they've been doing, or knows what they're doing, and enjoys what they're doing, and they can glean a lot of information and a lot of knowledge off of them.
Okay. So would you be a supplier of bees then? Like they could come to you to get bees, or is that something that you shy away from?
At this time, nobody wants my bees right now. Most the bees that I would have available are very aggressive. And besides, I'm trying to build my bees up. I'm trying to get around the 250 colonies, and I'm just not there yet. So
250 colonies you're running?
200. Yeah, 200. Well, I'm about halfway there now. So, I double that, and then I'll have enough to justify having somebody work with me full time doing that.
Well, there you go. You heard it, folks. Call in and foster out some property to this guy, and let's help him on his way.
Wow.
Exactly.
Do you ever make it out to the Far East, Southeast Valley?
What part are you talking about?
Santan. East of Queen Creek.
Matter of fact, yep. I removed a beehive out of somebody's bathroom ceiling 2 weeks ago out there. So yeah, I make it out there.
Oh wow! That would really be distracting. Using the bathroom with an active beehive above your head.
Oh yeah, that one was quite massive. It'd been there for quite a while, many generations of bees. So
wow.
Yeah, but you could walk into the bathroom, close the door, and you could hear them.
Oh man,
that's scary.
Like I don't think I've got a bee phobia, but that being said, I've never been around thousands of millions of them or anything like that.
Well, if you can catch me, depending on what part of the valley you're in, I always carry a couple of suits in my truck. You're welcome to come with me and see if it's something you'd like to do.
Oh man, that's awesome. I'm going to take you up on that offer. How long have you been in the bee business?
I've been in it we're going on 2.5 years.
2.5 years?
That seems like a short time, but I'm OCD. So, when I find something I like, I immerse myself in it. And, what I did was I became interested in it. I built myself a trap in my backyard. I actually watched a swarm move in within 5 days of building it, and then read every book I could in the library and needed a mentor, and I happened to find one. The professor of apiculture over at ASU took me under his wing and showed me a lot. And I was hired soon after that, and I've gained a lot of experience in those 2.5 years.
Yeah, it sounds like it. That's pretty cool. The reason I ask is there was a company called Nature's Nectar. Have you ever heard of that?
I haven't, but that doesn't mean much.
They had a bottling company in Coolidge, Arizona, and the guy, his name's Lynn Bushnell, and he was the apiculture specialist on the state level. He was like the liaison. And he's actually the guy that got me started into rabbits. And so when I think bees, I think of Lynn. But yeah, he's just a few conversations with him, and I'm thinking, man, I need to get into the honey business. And he about slaps my face and says, no, stick to rabbits.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but you'd be surprised. My kids are into it. I've got little mini bee suits that they wear, and they come out and help me from time to time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. A little 6-year-old in a little bee suit.
She's got to be the bravest. I mean, you've educated her, so that's the key to bravery is lack of ignorance, right? You gotta.
Exactly. We do it. I show them how to do it right, and we don't take risks. And I'm not going to ask him to do anything that I know he's physically incapable of doing. I don't want to scare him off from it.
Yeah.
I want him to learn, and both my boys really enjoy it.
So I guess let me go to the politics of bees. Our podcast is, I know you'd said you'd listen to a few of them, is about growing your own and trying to do this naturally and self-sustainable. And we've gotten a lot of user feedback on raising bees, becoming beekeepers, how to, what to use the honey for. But what do you think is, with this colony collapse and all this stuff, what are your opinions on all that? And where do you stand with the whole bees?
Well, let me put it to you this way. I am not a commercial beekeeper. And the bees that I encounter are feral, and I'm very busy. I get a lot of calls to remove feral colonies. nobody's done any research, as far as I know, on the feral colonies. So it's really hard to gauge. What I can tell you, though, is commercial beekeepers, what they do is they harvest their honey off of the hives, and they harvest every ounce they can. And then the bees will starve. So what they do is they, instead of, for instance, what I do is I harvest, but I only harvest enough. And I leave extra for the bees so they can get through the winter and sustain themselves. I think it's a sin to go back and feed your own bees. But a lot of commercial beekeepers, there's money in the honey, so they'll harvest it off, and then when the bees start to starve, they'll actually truck in a big tanker truck high fructose corn syrup, and they'll feed their bees high fructose corn syrup. So the bees are fed something that's not natural. And then, when women breastfeed their kids versus, I don't know of an example of it, but, it would be like breastfeeding your kids versus feeding your kids Red Bull and expecting them to grow up right and, have the cognitive abilities that a kid that had all the nutrients it was supposed to have. You're expecting a lot from it. So, you've got these commercial beekeepers. They'll feed their bees high fructose corn syrup, and then, they'll see, some mites inside the hive. So, they'll treat it, with a pesticide. And then, there's something called foul brood that, some of the hives will be susceptible to. So, they'll go in and use an antibiotic called terramycin. And, so they're pumping all of these things into their beehives, and then come March they load them all up onto a semi truck and truck them up to California because there's big money in pollinating the almond orchards up there.
Yep.
Last I heard, a beekeeper could make $225 per hive for 30 days of almond pollination. So it's big money there. So they truck them up there. They mix them with bees from all over the country that are also exposed to all sorts of who knows what. And then they load them back up on a truck and they hit the cranberries, they hit the blueberries, and eventually make it back home. And then they count their bees and they wonder why half of them are gone.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good way of looking at it. I didn't figure into it. We were just so ready to blame.
Well, yeah, and I think, speaking of blame, what can we do to help save these bees?
Yes.
Well, I think there's also been a lot of talk about neonicotinoid pesticides and GMO crops, and there's the jury's out on that as far as the United States is concerned. I mean, Monsanto's even gone and bought themselves a honeybee research lab, so. Who knows what the official story is, versus reality? Nobody knows, but, over in France, they respect their beekeepers a little bit differently, and beekeepers actually, after they started experiencing losses in their colonies, they waged protests, and they actually burned beehives on government property. In protest. And so, what they did was they went in and they, put in a ban for 3 years on neonicotinoids and GMO crops. We won't get the straight answer here, but we can sit back and watch and see what happens in Europe.
Yeah. Well, that's the straight answer here is, guess who else is on American Idol tonight? That's about the straightest as you're going to get, bud.
Yep.
I mean, let me say I want to go to the grocery store and buy honey. Am I hurting bees by doing that, or am I helping the bees by doing that versus going to the farmer's market? And, I know what I do, but what's,
Right. Well, I don't know. I wish I could sell my honey to everybody. I know my honey is unadulterated. I don't heat it, so therefore it's got all of the beneficial pollens and enzymes in it. Once you heat honey above 130 degrees, it kills all of that. And when people are bottling honey, large companies that bottle honey will heat their honey to 170 degrees, one, to pasteurize it, and two, so that it flows better and bottles faster.
to pasteurize something that doesn't go bad.
Yep.
That just seems counterintuitive. It's like, hey, we're in an energy crisis, but let's go ahead and heat this stuff up that doesn't need to be heated up just because.
Yep. So a lot of the stuff you find in the grocery store is basically honey flavored syrup. And it doesn't even taste the same.
Yeah.
Now going back to the farmers markets, I'm not in the farmers markets because I just simply cannot commit the time to do it. Maybe in the future I'll have somebody that can represent me at the farmers markets, but, I would ask the people that are vending the honey, is this honey from your bees? Or, do you know the beekeeper personally? And, what can you tell me about that honey? And if they can answer all those honestly, with a straight face and look you in the eye, then, you're probably getting a good quality product.
Yeah. And you're right about the taste, because we buy from a local farmer's market that does this. It's his honey. And there is a huge difference. And in fact, a difference every time we buy it. Not only, it's seasonal too. I mean, the taste actually changes. This is not honey syrup, and it's very thick. It's not something you can just, it's like a soft butter almost. It's a little thicker than that. It's really, it's fascinating. I always thought honey came out of a little,
a squeezed bear.
Bear, yeah. And this is not even close. This is completely different.
Exactly. And a lot of people think that their honey goes bad when it turns to crystal. It's doing what it's supposed to do, and people in Europe actually prefer to eat it that way. But, our moisture content in honey here in Arizona is very low. So, honey that I harvested 3 weeks ago off of a citrus orchard, it's already starting to crystallize.
Really?
There's nothing wrong with it at all. In fact, my family prefers to eat it like that on a warm English muffin. It actually melts a little bit.
Oh, stop it. I gotta go eat now. Jeez.
That's actually how I love the crystallized. I actually eat it on a spoon. So.
Oh yeah. And, a tablespoon a day it does you right. So,
now I feel justified because I used to take croissant rolls and poke a hole in the middle of them and fill them with honey. My mom came around the corner one day and saw me doing that. She's like, "Oh, how can you eat that?" And I was like, "Watch me."
Watch me. Exactly.
Oh,
exactly. Yeah. It's interesting. Every part of the valley that I have beehives in, the honey tastes a little bit different. And you're right. Every time I harvest, it does taste different. It just depends on what's blooming in the area and what the bees are able to forage upon.
Right.
And we can lock it down. Like I just moved bees off of Lehigh Valley, off of some citrus orchards there, and definitely tastes a lot different than the ones that are on mesquite. And it's really neat to try the different flavors.
I think we need to find a big field of jalapenos and see what happens.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, I'm with you. If somebody has a jalapeno field, I'd love to put some hives out there.
I can turn my greenhouse into that pretty quick. So
hey, the problem is though is bees will actually forage for 3 to 5 miles. So
right. That'd be a big old freaking greenhouse.
Yeah, it would have to be. One thing I did want to say about that is, a lot of labels that you see say that it's organic honey. I would be really, really cautious about that because like I said, bees have to have forage within 3 to 5 miles, and it would be really, really hard to prove that everything within that circle is farmed organically. I keep my bees organically. I use no antibiotics. I use no pesticides in my beehives, but I honestly cannot say that my honey is organic because I don't know if Farmer Joe a mile and a half down the road is using something that's not organic.
Yeah, Farmer Joe, he's a shady character. You don't know.
Yeah, you never know. I think his cousin was a plumber, Joe.
Yeah.
So I guess where was I going? I lost my train of thought.
Oh man, train of thought derailed.
Yeah.
That's
You know,
yours.
I have no idea. It's gone. It's gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
it'll buzz around. It'll come back.
That's right. It'll buzz
yeah,
around.
it'll buzz around. Yeah, I like that.
So here's a question. What's the smallest colony that you can maintain? Because it kind of freaks me out to have tons of bees, but I would like to have some bees. And
Okay.
I'm wondering, I mean, yes, they're going to try and multiply and replenish the hive, but
Right.
are there ways that you
Well-
can limit it and kind of keep them, I don't know.
Well, it's really hard to maintain a small colony because bees do what they're supposed to do, and that's multiply. When they get overcrowded, they will generate a new queen, and the old queen, who fears for her life because the new queen will emerge and kill her, she'll leave the hive, and half of the bees will go with her, and that's a swarm, and they'll find a box and move in and set up housekeeping in wherever they find. It's really hard to maintain a small colony because that queen, when she's going during the summer, she's laying 1,200 eggs a day.
Holy
So honestly,
cow.
your beehive is going to double in size every 21 days. So the thing to do is to keep adding boxes, and then when you get to a point where, okay, I've got a lot of bees here, the best thing to do is replicate your own swarm. And so what you do is you divide the hive in half, and you take half of the brood, half of the honey, and put it in a separate box and move it a few miles away. And it's inevitable if you're a beekeeper and you're a successful beekeeper, you're going to multiply your hives no matter what you do.
So that was a question I wanted to ask you. You touched on it, that you actually set a bee trap.
Yes.
Could you explain how to do that? Like you just grab some wild bees.
I see the gears turning in Nick's head. So
Because I can honestly
Okay.
say, well, I just built this thing in my backyard and the damn thing showed up. I don't know what happened, officer.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know we were going to kill the neighbor's yippy dog with this. That wasn't my intentions. It was
Well,
a birdhouse. I don't know.
They say once you know that a beehive is on your property, then you're liable. But it's
I'm half deaf. I couldn't hear him buzzing.
Okay. but it's basically there are plans available online. Just Google swarm trap or bait hive, and you can find some plans online. It's basically a box with an entrance, and there are a few things that you can do to the box. If you can put old honeycomb in it, melt some beeswax into it, a little bit of lemongrass oil, make it smell like it's housed bees before, and you'd be surprised during the spring and after the monsoons roll through here, you might see scout bees investigating it, and if you're lucky, a swarm might move right in.
how cool. So you were mentioning though that you double your hives and then you take and you create a new hive out of it, or the bees
Correct.
double it. Is there a market? I mean, is that how somebody would get started, is contact somebody like you? Would you sell something like that if they found their local bee people? Is that how this kind of continues, or is it more of a trapping thing?
Well, I'll tell you this. There has been a recent interest from younger people in beekeeping. A lot of the guys at the Beekeepers Association of Central Arizona are older, and a lot of them are downsizing their colonies right now. So that might be a good avenue to pursue. Not only would you maybe find a mentor, but you might also be able to get your hands on some bees for just trading some sweat and some effort. You might be able to pick up a colony or two.
What is it?
Sweat
yeah,
equity?
sweat equity.
Sweat equity.
Yeah.
Sweckity.
But
Schwiggity.
Swackity. Swackity. There we go. But right now, because I'm trying to build, I wouldn't be a good source until maybe in a couple of years. Once I start having people to help maintain my hives with me, and I'm a little more regular, then I might be able to help people out. But right now I'm in the growth stage, and I don't know where I'm going to be tomorrow. So it would be really hard to, one, to pin me down for any amount of time, and two, to let me give up some colonies of bees, because right now, like I said, I'm trying to grow my business.
So what I gather here is if somebody wants to get started in beekeeping, the first step would be find a mentor. And the best way to do that is probably looking online for your local bee association, and kind of run from that point on to learn about these bees.
I bet you Baca.org, they'll have links to other people that are out. Baca's Arizona, but I bet there'd be, they could
There's
probably
a state
direct
listing
you.
I saw that I found Baca through, so.
Okay.
Yeah, Baca is a good place to start here in Arizona. Most other states have multiple bee clubs, so it's really easy to find a local chapter. But that would be the best place. That's where beekeepers congregate, and
that's the hive.
Exactly. That's we all hive up. At least at Baca, it's the third Thursday of every month at in Canto Park. That would be the best place to find somebody.
Now, this is going back to something you mentioned earlier. You said that you have bees in an aviary. Like is it an enclosure that you have them in that you're trying to test their attitude?
Oh no, apiary.
Apiary.
Okay. AKA bee farm, bee yard. It's where
So it's still open then. Okay.
Exactly. It's just, it's basically a cordoned off area, where I can keep multiple hives, and I know that, they're going to be free to do what they need to do, and people aren't going to bother them.
Okay.
So can you keep bees on public land in places?
That I'm not too sure of. I do know some of the older beekeepers were talking about, BLM, and, they
kind of a hot topic these days.
No kidding. But, they talked about, many hoops that need to be jumped through, in order to get them on that type of property.
And that's called bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It might be different in different states. I know here in Arizona, beekeepers have not been all that successful in doing it.
I like your idea of putting up a Craigslist ad and saying, hey, I need some, a wide open space to keep my bees, and I'll share some honey with you. That seems like a really good way to do it. So.
If I had 5 acres, man, I'd be calling you tomorrow and have you setting up out there.
Exactly. That's how I got started. Maybe it's not for everybody, but I've met some really good people, by doing that. Usually, there's also another website that I visited that I posted on, and I got some good hits off of it. And it was the, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank.
How about the Valley Permaculture Association?
The VPA. There we go.
All
Valley
right.
Permaculture
look
Association.
At that. Don pulls it out of his head. There we go. Yep.
Nice.
No bleep needed.
But I found some good resources there as well. And, people that are interested in permaculture, people that are interested in gardening and sustainability, those are good people to connect with. They might even be allergic to bees, but they understand the importance.
Right.
And, if you can take care of bees for them and provide them with bees, then they'll be able to provide you with things for your bees to forage upon.
Very good.
I will say this though, I do carry insurance, so that, in the event, something does happen on somebody's property, at least I'm covered as far as liability is concerned.
Good idea.
That's smart. They're still a wild animal. They're still going to they're gonna defend their hive.
Yeah.
Right. But, a good beekeeper, stays on top of his hives and, makes sure that, the queen that he put in there or the temperament of the hive doesn't change. I mark all my queens with a little dot of paint. That way I know that when I go in there, if I find a queen and she doesn't have that dot of paint on her, I've got a problem. And so that hive gets moved off to an outside apiary and I move a different one in.
Very interesting. Well, Dan, we are running up against some time. Thank you so much. Why don't you leave us with a little bit of closing, advice or whatever you have there?
Oh goodness, you got me on the spot here.
Yeah, I did. I put you right on the spot with that one.
Yeah.
Confucius, speak.
I've all talked out. I think I've done the most talking in the past 30 minutes or so that I more talking in the past 30 minutes than I do all week.
There you go.
What I usually work with, they don't talk back to me.
Well, hey, I appreciate all of your time, and our listeners are just fascinated by bees, so I know we've got a lot of people out there looking forward to hearing what you have to say, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. We really appreciate it.
No problem. I hope you have something to work with and you don't have to edit too much out.
Oh, no, we're perfect. This is great.
Awesome.
All right. Now, that was cool. I learned a lot about bees.
I'm still buzzing.
Yeah, and I was talking, he said that word that I couldn't, that nano.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Neonicotinoid.
Neonicotinoids, that's what I was talking about. But he makes some valid points, and I think it kind of goes to what I was saying. I mean, there's bee collapse. I guess a lot of it is probably, this colony collapse stuff is probably commercial beekeepers.
Yes.
Partially to blame. I mean, you're feeding corn syrup, which we learned about last week too.
Yeah.
But it also goes to show that we don't know yet. And see, that's where I have a problem. And that's definitely a big problem in my book is we don't know. The stuff has not been studied yet. And it's not just that it could be, it may be hurting the bees. What's it doing to us? And I just want to know. That's all I'm asking is to know.
Yep.
So,
and when publications are being shut down and things like that, it's, it makes me leery of what it could be.
You mean when governments pass like the Monsanto Protection Act and things like that?
Yeah. And the fact that previously employed people are now running government agencies that inspect Monsanto. So Monsanto cronies are in the agencies inspecting Monsanto.
Well, Obama appointed one of the heads of Monsanto,
Who's that?
I have to go back and look. I knew you were going to ask me that. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I see that's the thing. You open your mouth. I don't watch the news anymore. I get too depressed and start loading rifles.
Yeah. Well, I hear you.
I'm kidding.
I hear you. So, no, Dan, that was just some amazing stuff. I never did ask, and I remember what I wanted to ask when I went blank. I want to know how much honey he is producing out of his 125-ish hives.
Yeah. Well, that's what
he does with it.
What I almost asked was, can you bottle it and can we market it for you? I mean, wouldn't that be cool to have we grow ours
honey?
We grow ours honey.
So Dan, when you listen to this, if you're interested,
there
my
you
number.
go. Yeah. give Don a text and be like, heck yeah. Or
I don't know how to
weird.
bottle honey.
No. Well, if he's already got it packaged.
I don't think he does.
Well, he's got it. If there's somebody that's packaging it, I would really like to market it because I want
desert honey.
Exactly. I want this guy to succeed because he's local and he's got a grasp on what we're doing here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. It's just unreal. These bees are so important. We can't F around with them.
Exactly.
We need to make sure that they're doing good. We need more people like Dan that's out there removing the hives.
Well, no, you heard what he said. He didn't call himself a pest control guy.
Right.
He said he's a bee rescuer.
Exactly.
That's freaking awesome.
And that's what we need.
What a great way to describe what he does.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
I can't say I'm a rabbit rescuer because
you eat them.
I'm the freaking grim reaper of rabbits.
Well, if their poop tasted as good as honey.
Yeah.
I guess I went there.
You went there. Yeah, that was a little gross. On that note.
We learned last week that it was puke, not poop. So.
Oh, that's really, you did it again.
I'm trying. All right. I'll
But
stop.
at least they've got a special stomach that's made for, holding the bacterias that are good.
Yeah. And, if you haven't done it, try to find somebody that has this local honey.
Yes.
Local
It helps with allergies.
Well, if it's local and
Yeah.
like the desert raised honey, you know, it does that if you're,
Yeah.
and you need
When
it from
I-
your local area to make that happen.
I spent like $50 on a gallon of honey. This was like 2 years ago.
It's expensive.
And, but it was delicious. I mean, I was taking a tablespoon a day, and that was the only year that I didn't have to like OD on Claritin D to survive. Springtime in Arizona is not kind to me.
No,
I mean, I
it's
get
not
all
kind to most
puffy and can't breathe and sound really nasally and pinched off. Yeah. So it's bad.
Yeah.
So that was the year, and you know, the amount of money I've spent on Claritin, I'd just buy honey. I'd enjoy it more.
Hey, I agree with you. You might as well. So that's going to wrap up the show, guys. At We Grow Ours on Twitter, Facebook.com/WeGrowOurs, WeGrowOurs.com. Be sure and ask us. Send us your opinions. That's WeGrowOurs.com/ask us. Keep your eyes open for the store. If you're going to be at the March Against Monsanto, I'll be out there with the little sign and the redhead next to me and wearing a We Grow Ours t-shirt. So come out and say hi.
I will try to be there.
I'm going to try and get Nick there. If you're not there, the following weekend up at the Survivalist Expo in Prescott.
Yep, up in Prescott. Prescott Valley.
Right.
It's Tim's Toyota Center is going to be hosting it.
Absolutely. And prepperbroadcasting.com, Mondays at 8 p.m. Central. We try to do the chats on there, and I want to shout out to everybody that joins us. We have a lot of fun on those chats, talk about a lot of different things, not just about the show. So help us save the bees, help us keep going. Go check all those things out, and I want to thank everybody for listening.
Yeah, thanks, guys. We'll see you next week.
Stay classy, first.
Stay classy.